Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool, and you are listening to Hindsight Hacking, where we have talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs hacking their hindsight to give you clearer foresight.
And now, as we still bring you the same great, amazing interviews each and every week, we are adding bits and pieces to serve you in such a great way. These bits and pieces are some mindset hacks, visibility hacks, traffic hacks, and more on the Daily Hack. So we want to make sure that you have all the tools and all the resources that you need to gain more visibility and gain more traffic.
And obviously, to get more sales. So head over to gethhm.com/toolbox to grab your free resources to get the help you need to get more.
And if you're interested, after you collect all those freebies, because they're amazing, hit the link in the show notes and jump on our calendar because we definitely want to help you.
Guys, we absolutely love the community that we've created with your guys' help, and we love all the Hindsight Hackers. So jump on in and get on our calendar.
So without further ado, what do you say? Let's get to it. Oh,
hey.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hindsight Hacking. And I'm going to ask a question to all you out there. Would you like to collapse time? Would you like to be in control of your time management and help increase the amount of time that you can actually spend with the people you love, your family, your friends? Well, today's guest, the one, the only, Mr. Paul Van Bloem, is going to teach us a little bit on how to do just that. Paul is a coach for high-achieving business owners, and we met because he's been working with Catherine Jones for the last few years and making a name for her, let alone himself, over there, doing so many amazing, wonderful things. But today, the coach, the time master himself, joining Hindsight Hacking. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Paul, we are super stoked. I was excited to figure out this was the first time on our show. I know you've been on another show with us, but it's the first time on our show with you. So we're excited to have you. But for the listeners that may have been living under a rock for the last year or so, tell them a little bit about you and kind of your backstory.
Yeah. So, like you had mentioned, Corey, I'm a business coach. I help business owners get in control of their decision making and therefore their results. A lot of people, they think that they need to be managing their time when in fact you can't do that. It's an impossibility. And so what I help them do is I actually help them get control of who they are and the way that they approach things and the way that they decide to do things. And therefore, actually, like, they get in control of their results. And the way that I actually came across this, early on, I think I've had a pretty cliche story when it comes to entrepreneurship. I almost feel embarrassed saying some of these things, but I was in college, I was working a 9-to-5 job, and I was like, I can't do this. It doesn't resonate with me. And so I dropped out of college, I quit my job, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a freelancer. And had a flood of freedom and therefore overwhelm because I never learned how to actually manage freedom. And like most entrepreneurs do, I've come to understand that the vast majority of entrepreneurs, freedom of time is the biggest blessing and biggest curse, because it means that you have to be responsible for what you do and how you spend your time. And so through much trial and error and much study, I finally came across a way to actually produce the results I want to be producing, a way to actually be in control of my life and my business. And I didn't really realize how special what I came across was. And so I was just like, I'm just a marketer and I'm doing great stuff in marketing. And it was super fun. And I was helping so many people. And I actually brought on some clients, some like one-on-one clients. I was coaching them through scaling their business, like I had done before. And I recognized something really interesting. I recognized that most of them actually knew what to do. They actually had the answers already. Because they'd been to enough events and enough webinars and enough books. They'd read enough of those. They'd listened to enough podcasts that the answers were there, but they just actually weren't doing it. And I found that the vast majority of what I was doing with these clients to help them actually scale their business was unlock their actions, like actually do it, actually tap into their potential. And it was super fun. And so I realized, like, hey, Paul, the way that you can actually help these people best is to actually help them unlock their actions and their decision making. And it was like game over. It was super, super fun to watch these people just kill it when they actually were doing what they knew how to do.
Yeah. So there's so many of us, and guilty, yes, right here. There's so many of us that have learned and learned and learned, and then took no action. We watched the webinars and listened to the podcasts, and didn't take the action. And Ron and I think we're both guilty of that. We take action when there's a deadline, and never miss that deadline. But then other times we're like, that decision, that thing can wait.
There's not a deadline. It's not important, right?
Right. So guilty that I know Ron and I have been in. But how do you really get that accountability piece to get people moving? Because I know Ron and I are big believers in always having a coach and always having somebody around to give us a little bit of that direction. And yeah, you're right. Some of the answers are the exact answers we would do anyway, but it's nice to have that accountability aspect of it. So how do you get guys like Ron and I to actually move forward, take action?
I don't like accountability is not like necessarily the wrong word, but I don't hold my clients accountable. Like, actually, one of the rules that I have when I'm working with somebody is I won't reach out to you. You reach out to me, because like it doesn't matter. Like you can't, the fully ascended, like most divine version of you is not somebody that has a babysitter making sure that you do stuff, right? So what we actually are searching for and what we're actually trying to build is your capacity to decide, therefore take action, right? So like when your alarm goes off in the morning, are you going to make that decision in that moment to actually get out of bed or not, right? And there is something to be said for, like, in moments like having somebody to reach out to, like, that's great. But what it comes down to, like the core fundamental piece of this is understanding who you are and having a very clear picture of your identity. And when you have a really clear picture of who you are and the decisions that you're making, it's like, it's a game over. And so, like, and I know that that's like really like hippie wooey ethereal, and like kind of like ambiguous, but like that is the fundamental principle that we're searching for, right?
Right. No, that's so good. And you said something that I want to kind of take you back to a statement you made where you were doing this process, you were doing this system, you didn't see it special because it came natural to you. So, like,
well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it was natural. It was a lot of work.
Okay, all right. Because I know the things that come natural to me, like, impress other people, and it's like, gosh, I just assumed everybody either thought that way, did that, or could do it. So I didn't see it being special enough to make it. So not knowing the value of what it was that was my special gift, is that kind of around what it was? Or
I think you're hitting on a really important point, and it's this. I think that most people just in general, but I think especially entrepreneurs, we look at other people that are like, it seems like self-aggrandizing, but it's not. I mean, like, it seems like you're like, wow, I'm so cool, but like, you look at other people that you're like, I'm more talented than them. Like, I'm smarter than them. And I'm like more creative, whatever. I'm fill in the blank more than them. Mm-hmm. But they're getting so much done. Like, what's going on here? And so you think that you think it's that, like, you think you're like less, you think you're a failure, right? You think that you're not capable of that. They've already figured out, they already know how to take action, when in fact they're actually probably struggling some of the exact same things that you are. And so I think that was what I didn't realize. I kind of had an imposter syndrome around that like everybody else must be already doing this, right? Everybody else must already have figured this out. When in fact I came to realize that like, no, like everybody actually, while they're sitting down to work, is thinking about their lawn needing to be mowed, and the kid that needs to be taken to the doctor's appointment, and the client email that you need to send, and the 50 to hundreds of different things that are flooding in at you. Like actually everybody's thinking about it that way, Paul. It's not, I'm going
to say one thing, and I know it's Corey's turn, but you said something that I literally told my wife the other day. I go, I find myself worrying about family stuff when I'm working. And then when I'm doing family stuff, I'm worrying about work stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, if I could just somehow switch those so they're congruent and like working on the same thing at the same time, I think my life would be much simpler.
There's a way to do it.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's talk
There's a way to do it. No, that's the big thing is it's like, and it's not even like here's like, we're going to get into the psychology of this really quick. Ready? So you're like, we're going to talk about brain anatomy. Ready? You have your frontal cortex, which like, if you're like pointing at your forehead, it's right there. Right. And this frontal cortex, this frontal cortex is your thinking brain. Like the scripts and the speech going on in your head, that's that portion of your brain, which is the conscious portion of your brain. But like behind that, your hindbrain, your midbrain, your nervous system, they call it the reptilian brain, which connects into your nervous system. Those like the actual anatomy people are going to be killing me right now. But for basics understanding, right? This, like all of that back there is subconscious. And its job,
so I can understand it. So everyone needs to just understand. He's bringing it down to Ron level, just back.
Yeah.
There you go.
What I'm saying is the vast majority of what actually determines your decision, and I'm not sure on the exact percentage. I read it once, but we'll come back to that. But it's a really high number, like 70 and above % of your actions are determined by everything but your prefrontal cortex and your frontal cortex, right? So what's actually driving your decision making are these old structures, evolutionarily speaking, right? These old structures that are bent on, like their whole job is keep you alive, right? And a lot of those structures were built while we were getting really social, right? Evolutionarily speaking, right? So a lot of them are saying like, hey, remember that commitment that you made to that client of yours? Well, guess what? If you don't follow through on that commitment, guess what's going to happen? They're going to not trust you. They're not going to like you. You're going to be rejected from the tribe, like the cliche. You're going to be rejected from the tribe and you're going to die, right? So it's like, you've got to send that email. You've got to send that email. Oh my goodness, Paul, you forgot to send that email while I'm sitting in the shower. And I'm like, I can't send the email right now.
Right.
Right. And so what we need to do is our brain is really bad at reminding us appropriately, right? It'll remind us, but it won't remind us appropriately. And so what we need to do is we need to, like, if we want to, Ron, get to where you're talking about, we need to figure out a way to take these reminders that your brain is focusing on, remove them and put them into a structure that we can trust that will calm our subconscious brain. It's essentially what we're doing is we're creating security outside of us, extrinsically, right? Outside of us in a way that that your brain can trust, right? So we're developing security out here and a reminding security so that it's not constantly going, hey, we got to do this, right? Or it's like, and instead of like the client example, it's like, it's like, hey, you have to you have to mow the lawn, you have to take your kid to the doctor appointment, you have to like buy your mom a birthday present, like these like reminders that are totally not congruent with what you're actually doing. And it may even be something like really similar where it's like, hey, you're working on your sales funnel, but you have to send that client email.
Right.
And it's like they're really closely, and it's like, yeah, I'm working, but like we need to get even more specific so that you can focus on one thing at a time, because you can't multitask. It's a literal impossibility. And you've all probably heard this idea that like multitasking is something that's like, it doesn't even exist. It was developed in terms of computer programming, and even computers aren't multitasking. They're switching between tasks. So it's not a possibility. You can't do it. So we have to figure out a way to remind us appropriately.
And so to get to that point, is some of this information going to be learned in the upcoming event next week?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
So so in this event we are talking about some of these concepts about how to like get yourself to a place to where you are directed, because there's two types of problems. Actually, before we get there, can we talk about another problem that we have?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's really important.
because it sounds like you're talking about me, so this is great.
well, there's two types of problems. Ron, you're dealing with a bottom-up problem, which and here's how I'm going to describe this. The bottom-up problem is you have so much clutter going on right now in your life that your mind, because and most entrepreneurs are this way, because I'm going to guess you think very laterally, and here's what I mean by that. You're connecting things to things constantly. Like you're creative. That's another way to put it, or open. Yeah. You're connecting things to things all the time, which is really beneficial, but it's really damaging in the wrong ways.
Yes.
But there's other people that think very vertically, which is they don't think about a million different things. They think about one thing really deeply, right? Yeah. But the problem with the vertical people is they oftentimes aren't understanding how what they're currently working on is connected to a long-term vision. So they're really effective at getting stuff done over and over and over. Like they're efficient and they're focused. But the problem is they're not as good, not saying they're not bad at it all the time, but they're not as good at saying, okay, well, here's this vision out there and we're going to build this beautiful thing. And what I'm doing right now is connected to that, right? So sometimes their problems are they come across something that is like not super exciting and they're like, ugh, I got to do this. And they go, and instead of like actually doing it and creatively approaching it, they go, well, you know, it sounds really easy right now. Instead, getting on Netflix or Instagram or following up on this other interesting thing that I know how to do, right? And so there's the bottom, there's a top down and there's the bottom up approach. We have to have a vision and we have to have an orientation and vital targets that get us to that vision, while having our bottom up structures in place to connect those two worlds, right? And when we have those two worlds connected, it's like the efficiency is ridiculous, because we have the motivation of the vision and the strategy that connects to the current situation, and we have the structure in place to actually get it done, right? We have a clear path. And that's what we're really we're going to attack both those worlds during this event, and help people understand, like, okay, this is how we actually get to where the man and woman that we say that we've always wanted to be, that we're working for, that we sacrifice for, that we spend money on to get there. There's actually a way to get there, and we're gonna help people understand how to do that.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So, I mean, the people that are involved, not only yourself, you got Catherine Jones, which we've worked with. You got Cody Jefferson, which we work with. You got Josh Forty, which we've worked with. And you have Richardson, right? So I'm going to tell a quick little story, because Josh told us this about a coaching that he got from Katie that I'm sure she's going to talk about in your thing, that I absolutely struggled with this statement. Like, and Corey's laughing because he knows what I'm going to say. Like, this was so hard for me, but it's so true, where your brain doesn't know what it doesn't know. So like your future or how you want to be, you can keep saying it's coming, it's out there, or you can just instantly think that's how it is and that's how it will become, because your brain doesn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And she challenged him in this way, and I was like, holy, like I got so stuck on that one concept. I remember I talked to Corey about it for what, 2 weeks after that. I couldn't let it go. I talked to my wife about it. I was like, oh my gosh, like we got to connect with it. But the amount your brain plays into your reality, I mean, they say perception is reality, is so true. But for you to be able to course correct it like that, that's crazy. That's hard for me to understand.
Well, that's where the magic is,
right?
Because I can, and again, this is like the merging of those two worlds. I can have a vision, I can have an identity, but in my head, but until that expresses itself in decision making, it's just color coordinated boxes on your calendar, right? And it's like fun.
Yes, and they look great.
They look great. And you spent 3 hours on Sunday building that, right?
Yes, and it looks beautiful, and it's a great plan.
Yeah, you're really excited about it, and you're like, I'm gonna do this. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of entrepreneurs, is they think that the way to get themselves to decision making is creating more structures, right? It's like, well, I'm really motivated right now, so I'm gonna wake up at 5:30 and I'm gonna get to the gym. Gosh dang it. But when 5:30 actually rolls around, it's like, well, are you gonna express that as a decision or not? Because your identity and your reality, what they actually are is they're a whole bunch of decisions layered on top of each other. And so the experience that you're having in your life is a result of the vision that you created, the top down, and the expression of that through decisions, the bottom up approach, right? And so if you don't have those two worlds in place, like you won't impact your identity and your character and that man and woman that you at moments have high definition and clarity around, that you're so like motivated and you want so badly. That's never going to be realized. And the reality that is expressed and experienced from that identity won't be realized if those systems are in place. Like what I'm saying right now is everything, your health, your relationships, your business, the financial, like all of those things come down to, are you deciding to do it or not? And the crazy thing about that is you actually know how to do it already, but you're just not doing it.
Yes, we know how to go to the gym and work out and do cardio or lift a weight. Like, you know how to move things, but then how many people don't, right? How many people know that, yeah, you probably shouldn't eat sugar, fried foods, but then we still do, right? So many of us still do, and those decisions were not made.
And the thing is, like, if you don't know how to, it's a Google search away, or it's a $10 book. Like, your capacity to actually get there is like the information is there. It's just a decision. And I'm so passionate about this because, like, the thing that is separating you from what you want, okay. One more thing. Can I go on another rant really quickly?
Oh yeah, please do. Please do. This is great. Hopefully at some point we'll talk about Corey more than Ron at some point, I'm sure. So please.
Yes, go on.
The thing that really kills me and makes me really passionate about this is the fact that audience, you guys listening, you were never taught how to do this. Like, and let's walk through what I actually mean about this. I'm not just this isn't just some marketing gimmick. Like, genuinely, you were never taught how to do this. Like, walk through your life as the classic American childhood. You were born and you were told where to go and what to do and what to think about. And then you went into kindergarten and you had to raise your hand to go to the bathroom, and you were told where to go and what to do and what to think about. And then you exited high school and you went into college, and they said, hey, here's where you go and what to do and what to think about, with a little bit of latitude of like, go and get a job where they'll tell you where to go, what to do, and what to think about. And then you exit college, and what they tell you to do is to go and get a job and work 9 to 5 and be told where to go, what to do, and what to think about. Like, when was the last time that somebody sat you down and was like, hey, here's how you manage your time and make an effective decision about how to go to the gym and learn something? Like, it doesn't happen. Straight up, it doesn't happen. I would bet that maybe 1% of the people listening had an experience where somebody said, oh, here's how you manage your time. And if they did, we're crossing our fingers that it was actually an effective system, which most, like the systems that are out there, what they're built for, they're not built for entrepreneurs. They're not built for mom and dads who are working inside their house and have kids like knocking on their door like I just had, right?
Right.
It's built for somebody that has like for a 60s and 80s worker who is sitting in an office who practically had earplugs in that could go, I'm going to work on this, and 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 then I'm going to go home and I'm going to have dinner prepared for me, and then I'm going to go back to work and work on this and work on this. Like, that's not the world that we live in. And also the type of work that we're working on is very different than it was back then. The type of work that we're working on is like knowledge work. It's unendable. There's always something that you can fix and improve and optimize inside, especially an entrepreneur, right? The task is never done. So we have to create a system that ends things, that has parameters around it, but also, and this is the tricky part, it has parameters, but it also is flexible so that when your car breaks down, you have to take it to the shop, it doesn't blow up your whole week, right?
Right. You got to have open spaces. So it's funny because you talk about time management, and I learned a long time ago in my calendar, I had to have blank spots, that I had to be okay with blank spots because life happens and you have to have stuff that you can be flexible at and move things around. But every time I've said time management, talked about time management, taught time management, anything about time management, it was around a calendar. It was around a calendar on how to put it in your calendar to maximize your day, to categorize what was important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it had nothing to do really about time. It was trying to fit in colored boxes into a day to get things accomplished. Right.
Yeah. And that's not like, I'm not saying what I'm not saying is that there isn't a place for time blocking and lists and all those tools, but they're not built for, they're ultimately they're broken systems that are not built for people like you and me.
Yeah.
And so like I use calendar, but I use it very differently than most people use it. And I have a task list, but I use it very differently than most people. Like, it's not about, and here's another problem. Ready, guys?
Yeah, right.
Another problem is that a lot of people, they get so overwhelmed that they're like, well, the answer has to be outside of me because I don't have it. And so they go, well, I'm going to go and see what the gurus say. And the gurus sell them some fun, sexy planner. Or they're like, oh, you got to download this app. And they jump on their phone and they're like, well, it must be, the app will solve it. And it's like, frankly, like with the system that I teach, you could use a pad of paper and a calendar and it would work. You could use iOS, you could use Android, you can use Google, you could like, it's not about the external or the thing outside of you. It's not about the extrinsic system. It's about your capacity to decide things. And then we incorporate tools that assist you in that process. But that's like, again, like that's what this event is all about. Like we have, like Katie, she's going to be training everybody about how to get clear about your identity, which is the foundation of how you decide things. Cody Jefferson is going to be teaching about how to identify the high leverage, vital decisions that are going to most effectively propel you into the trajectory that you ultimately want. Josh Forty, he's bringing the fire about how if you don't make a decision, somebody or something else will, right?
Nice.
So that's a whole nother topic that we could rant about if we want.
It's beautiful.
Catherine Jones is one of the most effective people that I've ever met. I have seen her take a list that's like, she has a whiteboard. I've seen the whiteboard in person that's just like filled, and she like gets it done in a day. Like, it blows my mind. It's so awesome. But she's going to be teaching us the difference and the vital difference between time management and decision management, and how like you ultimately can't manage your time. And then like, obviously I'm going to be there tying it all together, but like friends, you have to, it's non-negotiable. Like I was saying before, like if you don't make the decision, there are teams in Silicon Valley that are being paid billions of dollars whose in full intent is making a decision for you. And so like, do you want them making the decision, or do you want your mother-in-law making the decision, or do you want the old script from your past when you were 12 making the decision, or do you want to be in charge? And it's like, it's up to you.
Yeah. All right, Paul. So there's so many things I got to circle back on. Number one, you're wrong. If you're an Android user, like
it doesn't work.
I was actually going to comment. I don't know Android.
I'm with you.
Let's not go all the way into that.
But it brings me back. There's a gentleman, Blake Mellon, who has a TED Talk about shifting the script, and he talks about the old way of we go to school, right, and to work in the factory, to get it, like everything was decided, right, as you were talking about, right? You go to college and you just to go get a job, and all these decisions are created for you. But he talks about how we've got to shift the script, and I think 2020 was ever present that so many of us should and could shift that script, and in a sense of we have different jobs, different work now that it is never ending. It is, I mean, literally every single day there's probably 20 hours of work of stuff I want to get done, but I'm only going to work the 8 hours, right? Like, it's just a matter of negotiating what is actually going to get done. And so I love that this is all about decisions. And you spoke to me so much. I hadn't looked into what your event is, honestly, Paul, before today. I was like, let's learn about it from, the person that created it instead of going to the website. And so as you were talking, though, I just signed up. I'm now ready to go, ready to be there with all the fun. And because 100%, like, give me the task list. Let me check some things off. Let me block my calendar. And so I am super, super curious of how your calendar is. Like, you made a comment that you use it differently than we do. And maybe you'll give too much away or can't give as much away because it's coming next week. But as much as you can give, I would love to hear more about that, because like the calendar for Ron and I is the lifeblood of what we do. I mean, there's so many things, and we talk about like, I need to do a funnel, and I can't do the distractions if there's a funnel in my mind, because I lose the focus that I need. I cannot multitask in that sense. There's some menial tasks that I can do that I'm like, I can do this task and this task and go back and forth, and it doesn't slow productivity. But if it comes to a funnel specifically, for me, like, I can't go back and forth. I need the focus. I need to just focus on that one thing. So definitely let's hear as much as you can on that whole calendar.
Corey, I would challenge you. I would say that you're the most effective that you will ever be, and the most joy that you'll ever experience is when you are doing one thing at a time. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
If it's cleaning up the dog poop out of your kitchen, that one thing.
That's Corey.
And that's it.
I mean, that's how I operate best. Give me the one thing. And again, like, if I have some of the menial things, like it doesn't take much brain power. Like, I'll do that and knock it off.
Well, and that's where I was challenging is that like, here's my recommendation to you. Even in the menial, even in the things that you think that you can switch between, just do one. And you will see your productivity totally change. Especially, and this is the real, like, the real challenge, I think, for a lot of people is, especially when you have unexpected things come up. And when you have that extrinsic system that's reminding you, if you have that in place, you can have a kid yell at you and you're like, I got to attend to this. You can switch, go to the kid, be totally present. And the magic that will come into your life and your relationship with your family when you are totally present, you'll see kids calm down way faster because you're there, you're with them, right? And they know and they can feel it. They can feel if you're thinking about your business while you're attending to them. I promise. But so if we can switch like that, when you come back to your job after you got interrupted, you can switch right back in, right? The capacity to shift gears, that's actually multitasking. Like, is your capacity to switch from one thing to the other and then back and then the other, right? But like, if you can bring that task to completion and then switch back, but like, that's not the world we live in all the time, right? But you asked a question about the calendar. Here's what I would, a question that I want to ask you. I see your response. What is a calendar for? Like, what's its mode of function for you?
I mean, one, any calls that we have, like we had on the calendar, hey, we're talking to Paul, 11 o'clock Mountain Time today, Friday,
Perfect.
April 23rd, all those pieces. And I would say
work blocks.
work blocks. Like we put stuff like, hey, we don't want anybody to fill up our calendar on a Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 11. So we just put a 3-hour block that nobody can take from us. But that's kind of the stuff we use it for.
Cool. Yeah. You're not far off. The purpose of a calendar is for time specific decisions. So there is no other time that I can, well, it depends on the person, but ideally the way that you use your calendar is you say, this decision and action must be done at this specific time. Otherwise, don't put it on your calendar because you won't trust it if that's the case. Right? Sometimes what I'll do, just in like working with my wife, and she's on my calendar too. So as a form of a communication tool with her, I can say, I'm going to be working on this set of tasks during this specific time, but that's very loose. And I know that it's loose. In fact, I have a specific calendar that I've created in my iOS calendars. That's like, essentially, I know that's a loose calendar, right? And I can adjust that and nothing will happen. It'll be fine. Those are adjustable items, right?
So like a task calendar?
Yeah, well, that's a good way. That's a good way to look at it. It's a decision. It's a decision calendar. You have only things in your calendar that are there that are time specific. It has to be done at this time. Otherwise, you have a reference list that you can refer to that's saying, okay, if I'm working on work, top to bottom, and you get stuff done, right? But like that's the big mindset shift that a lot of entrepreneurs need to, when it comes to their calendar, is they look at their calendar as like I have to do it at this time. But then like the kid screams at them and they don't get it done, and their calendar becomes a place of failure for them, right? And like that's broken. They no longer want to look at their calendar because it's like, ugh, it's just like I'm gonna have to move stuff around again, blah, right? And so it becomes a place of anxiety for them, and that's not a powerful way to move into your work, right? That's not a powerful way to engage with your family. That's not a powerful way to approach your health and your habits in that regard, your sleep, right? Yeah. So that's a critical shift when you can look at it as a place that holds time specific decisions. That's huge.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, one, that's a mind shift for me if I was to do that, because it was hard enough to have blank spots or just work blocks in there. But I use it for communication as well. Rachel and I, my wife, has a shared calendar. Corey and I have a shared calendar. So everyone kind of knows what everyone's working on, quote unquote, at any particular point of the day. And then we have a scheduling app that helps people schedule time on our calendar in very specific spots that we know those can be taken at any point by clients or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So,
and especially when you use that structure in connection with a vision, like it makes those those tasks and those decisions so much more powerful,
Right.
or like efficacious, effective, because they're connected to something. You know, like, okay, me sending this email right now is actually me increasing my income by X amount, or hitting this specific target. Or I know that me taking this, eating this food is actually me putting on 20 pounds of muscle or whatever, right? It's like, it's connected to a metric that's long-term, right?
Nice. Nice.
Perfect. All right, Paul. So learning this through your time, and seeing your clients go through the challenges and discoveries, in regards to hindsight, our show Hindsight Hacking, we got to talk about hindsight's 2020. So if you were to kind of go back and look at all the times that you were really just in the discovery mode of the time management piece, and really helping clients, like what do you wish you really would have known sooner? What do you wish everyone would know now, like as we are learning about how decisions are the staple of everything? Like what's that piece of advice you can share?
Yeah. I would say that the biggest, how do I put it? The thing that moved me forward most rapidly was understanding that the answers are not outside of me. Like when we can really understand that, and if we really believe that, your capacity to take action and to make decisions is accelerated like beyond anything else. Because if you're constantly searching for, and this is something that I see all the time, and one of the big motivators of creating this event was seeing a lot of entrepreneurs who are chronic course junkies, or who think the next event that they're going to attend is going to solve their problems in their life, or reading another book or listening to another podcast. And it's like, I'm not criticizing that. Like bringing in resources from outside of you is vital to your progress, but it has to be in conjunction with taking action and making decisions. And that problem stems from believing that you're not capable of making change in your life. And you are. I'm here to say, and I think if there's one thing that I hope that like people take away from this interview is like, you are capable of doing it. The answers are inside you. It is possible for you to actually have the life and the vision and the business that you say that you've always wanted, to step into that man and woman that you've always said that you wanted to be. It is only going to happen if you trust in your capacity to actually get there. And the way that you're going to to do that is by making decisions. That's why I'm so passionate about this, is that this is complementary to every other thing in your life. Like the course that you just bought, you have to actually do it. Like the event that you just went to, you actually have to implement it. Right. The nutrition program that you purchased, you have to actually eat the food. And so, so that's the thing that I wish I had known earlier on, or I actually think I knew it, but I actually didn't want to admit it.
You just didn't do it.
Scary.
Yeah, you just didn't do it, right? So you transition perfectly, because besides, like, I want to talk about your event because 1, it's exciting. 2, the lineup's amazing. 3, it's coming up shortly. But besides Corey, because we know it's for Corey and for Ron, who else is this for? Like, you mentioned some things that speak right to Corey and I's heart, because any course we put out there, we don't want it to sit on a course shelf, right? It's got to have action, and we actually lock off content until people take action, right? Because if you're just going to not do it, you don't need all the content.
Yeah.
Like, you'll know in 2 weeks if you're going to make progress. And then we follow up and follow up and follow up until people actually do something, right? So we're that Jiminy Cricket in their head. But who's this geared for?
Yeah. We have specifically built this event for business owners, and specifically specifically entrepreneurially oriented business owners. Because what I've noticed, especially with these people, is like the problems that we were outlining today, they're experiencing these very poignantly. I would also say it's for business owners who are not primarily oriented toward business success, but they see business success as a means to an end, as a means toward more time with their family, more time mountain biking, more time engaging with those things that they are really passionate about, but who are also really passionate about their capacity to have to bring about change in the marketplace and in their clients' lives. And marrying those two worlds, that's really what this information is all about, that we're going to be talking about here, is for you all listening. I think the reason why I reached out to you guys is because I believe that your audience is very much oriented that way. So I would say that the people listening, it's you. But also, like, and here's the really, yeah. And here's the thing that's really beautiful about this information, though, is it's also very adaptable to a lot of different scenarios. Like I was actually just talking with Sarah Allred. I don't know if you know her, but she helps moms who are also business owners. Like that, it's very adaptable. And this is the beautiful thing about it, is it's honestly for everyone. But this event is especially built for you business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I could see it being built. I think anyone can actually get value and put it to use in their world and life, for sure.
Yeah. I guess who it's not for people who are working in an 80s and 60s structure, who have a 9-to-5 job, that are told exactly what to do every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So Monday, April 26th. Is it? I know I just signed up. I haven't had a moment to look at the email response that I'm sure there is out there already. But is it going to be live on a Zoom? Or is it going to be live on a?
Yeah, it's actually going to be live on my Facebook page. We're actually going to push people to my Facebook page. You'll get a reminder with a link that'll pull you directly to it when you register. So that's that. But in addition to that, a really important reason to register for it is because on the back end of the registration, we built out an audit that
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, I would really encourage you to like actually fill that out before you come, because it'll help you identify, okay, as I'm listening to all this, like to Catherine Jones and Cody Jefferson, Katie Richardson, Josh Forty, and me, it'll help you understand, like, okay, I need to be listening for this. Like my numbers are low here, and this is where I can really like improve. I need to be listening for that. So that audit is extremely, like, honestly, if you just do the audit, like, it's going to bring a lot of clarity around what's going on and where to start moving the needle. But it's a great supplement to, it's an orienting device that will help you as you're listening to this like dope lineup.
Yeah. As soon as I signed up, I got the audit and I was like, uh-oh. I gotta be real for a minute, right? Yeah, I was like, I gotta take some time, right? But I think it's that important, where you have to know where you need the help, and most business owners sometimes don't want to know that, or they're not sure where to find it, so they just kind of put the blinders on, and hopefully they'll get better at whatever it is over time.
That's like,
right?
That's really what you're bringing up is really important, and like. It's brutal because here's the downside of that. Well, I mean, there's the whole thing is a downside, but is that life is full of suffering, but it's what type of suffering? Do you want to experience the suffering at the end of an overwhelming day where you walk away from work just pissed because you know what you're supposed to be doing? And like, as soon as you walk away from your desk, it's like, oh, like, duh, that's what you're supposed to be doing. But you have demands outside of work that you can't go back and do it, right? And so instead, you just walk away furious and pissed off, and you end up, while you're sitting across the dinner table from your family, taking out that frustration on things that should not be triggering you.
Yeah.
Are you going to be experiencing that kind of suffering, or are you going to be experiencing the pain of progress towards an oriented, specific goal that is going to produce a huge net of joy? Like, it's worth the cost, friends. It's worth the cost of getting real.
Yeah.
Actually looking at reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I vote for pain of progress. I'm on that train. Let's go. I know Ron and I, as we have built our business, there's definitely been painful days, but I still would wake up and we would have this conversation of like, oh, that one hurts, and that was a long day, and that 3 a.m. night was a lot, but it was so worth every aspect of it. And then, as you like, going back to, do I take it out of my family, because I was working a 9 to 5 job and I was miserable and I hated every second of it. And I didn't want to drive to work. And then I'd get to dinner and I had work on my mind, but I was still a jerk to, the people that were around me. Right. And so
I think that this is another really important point about this is if you choose the pain of progress, you'll be the only one suffering.
Ooh.
Or you can choose to be selfish and still hurt and leave a wake of suffering in your path.
Thanks for coming to the show today.
Yeah.
Like, no, I mean, that is so profound. Like, that is huge. I mean, and I don't think, especially as entrepreneurs working from home, I don't think we think about that enough, right? Because like, unfortunately, I'm stuck in bed because I hurt my leg. So my wife was coming in here and wanting to use, get all ready and stuff. And I'm on a live. So I'm disrupting her day, right? Where I could get upset. Like, you just came in, like I wouldn't. But at the same time, that is a disruption in her life where I can't be where I'm normally at, right? So I don't think we put that into perspective how you just said it. So that was huge.
Yeah, you can either uplift or you can pull down.
Yeah, love it.
Perfect. All right, Paul. So next week, 10 a.m. Is that right? 10 a.m. Mountain?
12. Yeah. So 10 a.m. Mountain Standard, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Yeah,
And we need to commit to an hour. Is that the decision, or is it 2 hours? Or?
We're trying to keep to 30 minutes.
Oh wow.
I mean, we have some ramblers, so we'll see.
Yeah, like
I shouldn't say ramble. That is the wrong word.
No, it's good storytelling because we had Catherine. Catherine is our longest episode, and we went back and forth if we were ever gonna, like, if we should do 2 parts, because it was like an hour and some minutes, right? It was a long episode, but it didn't feel like a long episode, right? And then we've talked to Josh multiple times, and all of a sudden it's an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and it doesn't feel that way because the content is so good and they are so passionate. And then Cody is just Cody. Like, Cody is such a powerful person, and how he talks, he's so deliberate on what he's trying to do, and he's going to uplift people. And Katie's like Katie, like everyone you talk to, like, you don't get coached by Katie, why not, right? Like, so for you to bring Katie to the stage, that's huge. And then you're on there. I mean, it's a complete no-brainer.
Yeah,
it's 30 minutes. Like, get over it. It's 30 minutes.
It's free
in a different color. It'll be fine. It's free.
And it's free. Yeah. So perfect. I thought 2 hours, and I was trying to figure out how can I make 2 hours work. So
right.
Well, and to be clear, it's we're going Monday through Friday, so it's gonna be 30-minute chunks each day.
Nice.
Perfect. All right, Paul. It's
maybe leave some wiggle room in the back and give us like 45 minutes just in case.
I'll give you an hour.
An hour, because we need a little time to go implement. Right.
Hey, remember our scheduling technique is flexible, so you should
that's right. There you go.
Perfect. All right, Paul. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks, see
you. All right, everyone. I hope your decision making is being questioned right now. I hope you're really trying to think, and if what you're doing is the right thing, But if it's not, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. You can fix it. You can work on it. But Ron, a couple takeaways from you, my friend.
I got a bunch. So the first one, before I even get into takeaways, this is absolutely a no-brainer. Like for anybody that is on the online space or an entrepreneur or owns a business or wants to do either one of those two, it's really a no-brainer. Like you need to be ahead of this because that way you don't have to go through those hard learning curves, right? And the people he's putting you in front of, including himself, they're all experts in their field. Like it's a powerhouse event. Don't miss it. Be there. It's 30 minutes. It's free. Come on. All right. So that's one. But that doesn't count because that's how I work. It doesn't count. It doesn't count. All right. I loved when he talked about your reality is a stack of your decisions. Because as soon as he said that, I started thinking back. I was like, yeah, I can see how that got me there, right? And sometimes that's a good place to be in, and sometimes it's a bad place to be in. But guess what? As soon as you understand that, you can start making different decisions so your reality can change, right? So that's one. The other thing I loved is connect your decisions to your personal KPIs. Whatever you're holding value to, whatever you track your stuff on, check your decisions based on those.
Yeah, definitely. And FOT, right? Freedom of time.
Oh yeah.
If you're wanting that, and you can actually put the vision attached to the decisions, it'll make things easier, right? Like if we want to lose weight, we know we need to eat healthy.
Or we just have people on our show that razzes me. It's
right.
Totally
that's part of it. But it's harder to actually, if you're doing a diet and you're just like, oh, one cookie won't hurt, right? Like, but if you're truly thinking about, I want to be healthy for my kids in 20 years or 30 years or whatever, then, right? Like if you have the actual vision versus like, I'm on a diet because I want to lose weight,
right?
The decisions are much easier to figure out when you have that vision structured with that. So I love that. I can't wait for next week. And again, I signed up while we were here, while we were live. I was multitasking. Sorry, Paul. I was present. I asked you all the questions when I needed to. But everyone, join us at the Time Masters Group event, timemastersgroup.com/event, and join us next week with Paul, Catherine, Cody, Katie, and Josh.
Yeah, guys, if you are hearing this, if you're watching the live, like everything's going to be in the show notes or in the comments. Go there, get your place, hold it in, put it in your calendar, be present, do the time audit, be ready and open for what you're going to hear. Bye, guys.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And you know what? If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Head on over facebook.com/groups/profits with.
Guys, we are super excited to have you be a part of our community and help you get more visible, get more traffic, and get more sales.
That's right, Ron. And every time someone is in our group, we get to share all the tips, the tricks, and everything that you can get profits with from your summits, your challenges, your workshops, your podcasts, your vodcasts, and so much more.
Guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers.